Everybody, welcome back to the Insiders Lounge. Today we have another special episode and another special guest. Rudy, thank you for joining me and feel free to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Shad, for having me in the podcast. So I'm Rudy Gestede, first and foremost, happy husband and father of three kids. And I'm also head of football operation at the Blackburn Rovers Football Club.
I always want to get into your first footballing memory. What is it? What is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of it?
You know what? I wasn't into football until like 10, 11 years
Mhm.
old. But I've got a memory of a football match, Nancy, where I'm born, played against Marseille. And my granddad took me to the game. But I had no interest into football at this age.
Wow, it's funny how that works out. So can we get into your like childhood family background? Like for someone that doesn't know anything about you, let's get into Rudy as sort of like a 10-year-old growing up. What is it like? Where are you in the world? And give us some more insights on that end.
So I'm born in France with my two parents. I've got a older brother and younger sister. Good family environment. I would say middle range of in the economy scale. I would say happy childhood. Grew up. I was into sports. My dad was into sports, not at the professional level, but he always liked sports. So I started doing gymnastic, American football. I've done judo, and I ended up doing football when I was 10, 11 years old. I played a bit with friends outside, but in a football environment club, in a club when I was 10. When we moved from Nancy to Metz, which is the like a derby city, and I started football in a small club there. And after one season, few clubs around wanted to sign me. Metz, Cannes in the south in France, and I decided to sign there, and the rest, like normal pre-academy, academy, and first team.
When did things start to like get serious? When did you know, okay, maybe I have some potential to really get into a footballing career? Was there like a sort of a moment or a contract or something that made you realize like, okay, I might have a chance here?
So when I was 11 years old, I had some approach from clubs. So I said Metz and Cannes. Cannes at this time was one of the good academy in France. The club just went back to the second division, but they had an academy system in place with, Zidane went there and a few good players. So the day I remember the days they came, they knocked the door and they say, "Ah, we from Cannes, we'd like to speak to your parents." My parents were at work, so I say, "Come back tonight." And they say, they invite me to travel. That was the first time I took a plane to go and visit the facilities with my family. Then Metz was in discussion to sign me. And when I went there, came back, they said, "We want to give you a long-term contract, like a plan. So
Mhm.
you're not allowed legally to sign a long-term contract." But I had a 10 years plan at the club. So if everything was going well, I was going to sign pro for the club.
Mm.
So I signed this plan. Started with a and started when I was 12 years old. And then I left when I was 22 years old. So the plan worked, not as much as I wanted because I had a lot of injury, but we can talk about this later. But I knew like around like 14, 15 years old that I was better than the other one of my age group. Even at 12, I was playing with the one above me, always played with the older players. At 16, one on discussion with the director of the academy, he said to me, "Are you ready for the first team environment?" I said, "You tell me." At 16, at this time, when you go back to this time, there's only few players who play at 16,
Mm.
17 years old. Now it's a bit more trendy. It's a different approach. But when I was playing, if you play at 16, 17, 18 years old, that means you're doing well because the age group was around like
Mm.
26, 27, 28 years old. So then I had my first game when I was 19, starting to train with the first team when I was 17. But because of injury, I missed a lot of games, a lot of trainings. And then I knew when I started to play with the national team in France when I was under 18 or under 19, I knew I was on the right track. But until you are with the first team and you can confront and compare yourself with the top players in the first team environment, you never know.
Hmm.
So when I get there, I trained physically. I was good, obviously. I could score goals. So then, if I could stay fit, I knew I was going to have a good career. And then I had a few injuries, but then I managed to do okay, I would say.
Yeah. And in terms of like a dream, we always look at professional athletes as a whole, and some it's a dream from when they're first born to become a professional basketball player, professional football player, whatever that is. But others you sometimes see now more and more, they're not necessarily it's not necessarily a dream to become a professional footballer. They more just do it because they're good at it and they can make some money off it and that sort of thing. Where were you on that scale? Was it something just a true passion from young? Because I know you said you kind of got into it a bit late.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I had the passion for football, to be honest with you, and that's probably why also I didn't get to the extra level in my career.
Hmm.
I loved what I love is going over my limit. What I love is anything I do, I want to be the best. So I went into football, I was good at it, so I wanted to be the best. But growing up, I don't know why, but I always had a lot of admiration for the trader. I wanted to go to Wall Street. I wanted to look good in a suit. I wanted to, this type of lifestyle. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I've got no idea. Probably movies or something like this. But that's what I wanted to do. And then because you get in the rhythm of the academy, training every day, and as I said, I like to compete myself with anyone. I wanted to be the best. So then I realized, okay, I'm the best of my age group. I'm with the national team in France. Can I go further? So I try to push my limit all the time. And then, you get caught in your career. Obviously, you still love football. You love playing. You love scoring goals. You love the team bonding, the atmosphere in the changing room. So I just did my career like this. But I won't say that I had a big passion for football. I love the game. I love the people in football. But there is also a lot of things around in life that I like to spend my time.
So then if we go back to sort of your youth and you could end up going any other route and not go into football, what sort of route do you think you would have gone down?
I think, as I said, I would have gone to the business road.
Hmm.
I always would like an eye for business, try new things, and try to be ahead of my time. But playing football, then you have to stay focused on what you're doing. But yeah, probably a business side of it. I had a lot of admiration for US when I young. My generation, US was the dream. So I think I would have gone to a university over there and probably end up to the trading route or business side of it.
I saw, is it true that you have a grandparent from the US or some sort of connection to the US where you could have played for the national team? I might have seen it, but I'm not sure if I'm right there.
Yeah. So my my grandfather, uh, it's a bit complicated. We'll not get into it, but my grandfather biologically is American.
Hmm.
He's living in Atlanta. And so I tried at one point when I was playing for Cardiff, I got in touch with Jurgen Klinsmann to get in touch with the national team. But at this moment, I wasn't like a starting player in championship. So they said, yeah, we're going to watch him. But, I didn't have the passport or all the paper. So it took, it was a long
Yeah.
shot. And then I decided to represent my other background country, which is Benin, because I
Yep.
couldn't, to be honest with you, I could not get access to the French national team because my level was not good
Mhm.
enough. So I had to find a solution. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's good. You still got to play national team football. I think a lot of
yeah,
people
yeah. It was
would
great.
appreciate to represent any country. That's a possibility. Let's go into your actual playing career. You sort of led us up to sort of your youth career and further into getting into the first team. You played all over the world, I guess you could say, at the highest levels as well. Can you dive into just some of the top moments or experiences that you had and just some highlights that you feel passionate about in terms of your actual playing career?
So just for the story, when you mentioned my first football game I watched was Nantes against Marseille. My first game as a football player, professional football player, was at Marseille.
Really?
So I don't know if it's like link or there's some kind of energy behind this, but
Mm.
yeah, just for the small story. So I would say my first game as a professional. It was in November. We played against Marseille away. We lost 3-1. But even if we lost at this time, it was good memory for me. Then the second one I would say was my first goal with Aston Villa in the Prem, because my dream was to play in the Premier League since I'm young. When I started to be at the academy, my dream was England. So when I scored against Bournemouth. Was like it was a different feeling. I had also good memories when we won the league with with Cardiff. Even if it's a bit, I'm a bit in between because we won the league, which was great, but I didn't play that much.
Mm,
So even if it's a team spirit, you still think about yourself, and you don't feel this, you don't have the same feeling when you fully part of the team or when you just like a sub. Then a bad memory would say was when we went down with Aston Villa. I've got big regret for of this season because I think we gave up too early. The group, as a group, as a team, we gave up too early. And I think we had the quality to manage to stay up. So it's one of my big regrets in football, but still part of the memory in my journey. Then there's few games when I scored. Or Blackburn obviously was I would say that my time at Blackburn is a good memory overall because I played every game, I scored, good memories with the fan, with the club. That's why also I'm happy to be back at the club because I've got special feeling for the club.
mm,
So yeah, and then I left UK after Brexit, and for some reason, visa situation, I couldn't come back. So I went abroad. But the football is just different. The lower you go, the harder it is to get the passion. Or for
mm,
me, I'm talking for me because you surrounded by. I'm not the type of player that I can win the game by myself. I need the squad around me. I need services in the box, and when you don't have the players at the level, with all the due respect I've got for them, it's different for me to perform. And probably also my level was going down, to be
mm.
honest. So it's a mix of both. And then I lost the appetite to train every day. So I retired. So it's also a memory to retire and to say, okay, now football is finished or playing is finished. What's next?
And when you left England and France, I think culturally there's some differences between the two, but in a way they're quite similar. But then you went to many different places. You went to Greece, to Australia, to Iran, and you really played in some unique cultures. So from the cultural aspect, how was it being able to sort of adapt into a new place, not only on the field in terms of quality of play, like you mentioned, but also just day to day life? What is it like, kind of getting into a new environment like that?
So I would say Australia was very easy to adapt. It's not that far in terms of similarity. People speak English. You've got every type of food that you want. I was at playing for Melbourne, and probably have my best time outside of football. The city is just amazing. The people is great. Uh, so I would say Australia was a good time. Outside of football. Football wise, we didn't do well, but outside of football, I was enjoying life with my family. And I was at an age where you can have a differentiation between football and when you're younger, everything is mixed. When you got older, obviously when you lose, don't talk to me for one day, but then we can discuss. But outside, I know how to make the difference with my kids and my wife. So Greece, I stayed only for a few months there. Good people. I met some good people. Like the connection was good. A low club, so the facilities were not that best. What was not the best, and the quality also it was just a bit different. I would say was the probably the part of my career where the city itself wasn't that great. So football and city. When I had the solution to go to Iran, I said, "Let's try it." And Iran was just different, better than what I expected in terms of city and living environment. But the football was just you had good players and very bad, I would say, bad
Mm,
level of players. There is no academy system, so there is no work at the youth level to make you better as a professional. But there is some talent, to be honest with you. With a bit more work over there, I think they could produce a lot of good players. The fans was they were amazing, like crazy about football, about the team that you play for. and we won the league. So overall, I would say in terms of football, it's another title and different football style. Um, but if I go back in my career, I think should have stayed a bit longer in UK because that's where I felt the most comfortable.
Could you have like post Brexit? Was that still a possibility to potentially stay there?
Yes, yes, I had few options. So I thought when I left to go to, so to be honest, after Middlesbrough, I wanted to break because my time at Middlesbrough was difficult. Outside of the pitch, in the pitch, like it wasn't very good. And then went to Australia, which was good. And I wanted to come back to UK, and I thought I didn't have the visa because I spoke with few people. They said, "No, you don't have it." And then and later down the line, so before I came back to Blackburn, I realized I had the visa, so I could have come back. I had few offer from clubs, and I said, "I don't think I can sign," and but I should have. So yeah, I could have come back and play in UK for a few years. But it's I don't try to think too much about the past. What is gone, and I look forward to new things and new environment.
Yeah, I think those decisions inform now decisions that you can make now, and that's I think the best way to look at it. During your career, were you very like goal orientated? Like, did you have specific goals in mind for different? I'm sure as you get a family, your goals shift in terms of what you're trying to do. So, did you have sort of like goals that you would set out that you were trying to focus on throughout your career?
Yeah, I try to. I would say in my life, in general, I try to put some goals that are realistic, and also you have to dream big. That's what I think. Dream big to get big. Um, but in football, there's too many parameters to help you to reach your goals. Especially, I was unlucky, and probably I didn't do what was supposed to do about injuries. So it was always a step back for me. And the older you get and the injury you have, then there's a level you cannot reach anymore. So I try to have some targets that I can hit and some bigger targets. That's the objective I'm watching every day to make sure I always try to improve myself. But yeah, I'm working a lot on this. That's something I like, the psychology around this and the visualization, meditation, like everything inside yourself to make you better on the outside environment. Yeah, I'm big into it.
And then in terms when you looked at like new opportunities, so and you have a few teams as options. Were you like what were you prioritizing in those deals in terms of a contract, but also the club environment, the city, so on? How did you look at those situations?
But as a football player, you need to look at a few different criteria. First one is who wants me at the club, because you could sign through the director of football or through the head coach or through a contact at the club. But if the decision is not a group decision, you don't arrive in the right environment. So
Mm.
that's the first one. Then you need to check the style of the team. From my point of view, if I go to a team they play like Barcelona, I will be struggling. But if I know it's a team like who wants to play, put the ball in the box and play for the striker to score goals, that's probably the right environment for me. You also need to have a discussion with the head coach because he's going to be key in your decision. You need to have the feeling of what he thinks, what he wants, what he expects of you. Then after that, you check the city, you check schools. When you've got kids, you check the environment. You say, okay, is your wife's going to be comfortable? Because family is also key. I'm lucky because I had an amazing wife looking after the environment, looking after me, looking after the kids, looking after the house, doing her own things on the side. So she's just amazing, and I can count on her. So it helps a lot to have someone you can rely on, and I know she's got my back. So, and then after that, it's a financial decision also. You have to what's pros and cons on the contract and on the club, the contract, the lifestyle, pros and cons, and then you make the decision based on this. That's how I
How
was
do
doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, how do you adapt? I know a lot of players when I speak with them, they struggle with coaches or clubs in general over promising and under delivering. So saying, "Rudy, you're going to be a starter, we're going to play your style, we're going to do this, we're going to do that." And I'm sure you heard that throughout your career multiple times. and then you get to the first game, the second game, the third game, the fourth game, and nothing's changing, and you go and you complain or you say something, there's still nothing changing. How do you adapt mentally and also physically in terms of your play to still just almost ignore it and block it out and continue to strive on towards your goals?
So I've been lucky when I moved club, the head coach in place wanted to sign me and play for me to score goals. So I've been lucky for that. Or those who signed me has been very honest. That's how we're gonna play. That's how I'm gonna use you. That's what I expect from you. And when I came, it was they stick to their words. But then the other part, which is related to what you said, is when this head coach got sacked, because in football you will have multiple coaches coming, and the next one is coming, and the next one wants to play a different style of football, but you're still there on the contract and you still wants to play. So there's a discussion to have with him, see what he expects from you now. If you're still a starter, you're number two, number three, number four, I don't know. How you see football? Is there any connection there, or you have probably to find a solution somewhere? I think, and the problem is sometimes we try to go away too early instead of showing you capability, your abilities on the pitch, and showing that you deserve to play more. Because it's too easy now to say, okay, he doesn't like me, I'll find another club. I'll find another club. But then you end up going left, right, and there's no consistency on your performances on the pitch, which is key for a player, is to be able to play week in, week out. That's how you get better. That's how you develop yourself. That's how you start to feeling your rhythm and to know yourself also on the pitch. So I would say stick to it works. There is only one thing you can control is the amount of work you put at training
Mm.
and how you look after yourself outside of football. So put blinders, just cut the sounds outside, friends, agent, family, every people around you. Do what you're good at, works hard, and at the end you will have a reward from this.
Who were the best influences in your life? Who were the people that when it came to making important decisions, you sort of leaned on or focused and listened to their opinion?
But there's different stages of my life. I would say when you younger, you speak to your dad. You know, my dad was a hard worker, uh, a person. Everything he was doing, he was like trying to be his best. He came from a difficult background, but he did well for himself and for his family. So he was my first role model. My mom also was a role model, but in a different way. You know, she looked after the family and she looked after herself, and she also was working hard, which sometimes the mother and the mom and the wife don't get the enough credit for that. Then different. Then when I tried also with social media, with YouTube, and you've got a lot of people talking, and so you can pick the one you like. So in terms of businesses, there's one guy I was following when I was younger, Gary Vaynerchuk. Then you had Patrick Bet David I was following, and then in terms of football, I was watching, Premier League players. My top players when I was younger it was Thierry Henry. So I was watching Thierry Henry, and when I was younger, I was a bit similar. I was fast
Mm.
and I could score goals. Then I grew up, my body
You
changed,
got
so
too
I had to
big.
adapt. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to adapt. So then the similarity was just the opposite. But yeah, he was a striker that I like to watch. But I didn't have any like person I could call and discuss for hours and put me in the right mindset. I did it by myself, in terms of meditation, in terms of diet, food. You've got access to everything online now, so you just need to find the one. The one is like when you've got good connection with, and the one you feel, and then living the life that you feel comfortable with, and I think then you will find your own path and your own journey.
And when we're going through your career, was there a point where you started to think, okay, football management or heading into the business side of football could be of interest here? I know you mentioned sort of pre your career business was always just a natural interest of yours. And
Mm.
then alongside that, was there like an extreme positive or extreme negative experience in the industry where you were like, no, you know what? I have to make a change. I have to make a difference. I need to get into that side of football so that future players can have a healthier experience.
So when I was playing, I tried few businesses. Most of them failed, to be honest. So when I was at Cardiff, I launched a energy drink. Then I did some business in Africa. Then towards my end of my career, when I launched a hospitality business in France. It's still going on, uh, but on the way to be sold, so which is good.
Hmm.
And so when I was playing for Middlesbrough, I had a tough time. A lot of injuries. A lot of head coach was changing a lot. So I wasn't playing that much. Played, stopped to play. So and I was thinking about what could I do after football. I had few, I would say, challenges with the board, with the CEO when we had discussion, tough discussion. And I said, and I always, if I said that if I stay in football, I don't want to be on the pitch anymore, but I want to make a change. I want to add value. I want to be able to make a decision, not for myself, but for the club, and also understanding the need of the player. So I said, I'm going to do some kind of managerial courses or to understand. So I've done the CEO in sport organization with VSI in UK in Manchester. So it gave me a more understanding of the role, and also then I spent 6 months as a working experience at Blackburn when I got retired. So I wanted to go back in the football industry, but in a senior leadership
Hmm.
position, because as you said, I want to make some change in the industry to give the opportunity to different people, and to be able to give a hands to them a bit undervalued or not seen, to get access to also good position.
You mentioned the course that you took. Were there other like support systems in and around sort of where you were playing and where you were looking to work towards that helped you kind of grow in that transition? Because I know that transition is difficult. You're constantly labeled as a football player. You're a football player. You're a football player, and
Yes,
now all of a sudden you want to branch away from that and just be Rudy. You're just Rudy, and then you
yes.
can kind of grow into a new position. So where was the support there to help you transition into that?
So there is not a lot. So you've
Mm,
got access to some courses with the PFA in UK. So they come once a year, say you can get access to this and that, and but when you stop, there is nothing that's gonna. There is no program, or there is nothing that they're gonna give you different opportunities, or just be try to be alongside you for a few months to understand what you can do, and it's hard to know what you want to do, because
hmm.
I've done this training every day from 12 years old to 32, 33 years old. So if you ask me, what do you want to do after football? I've been lucky because I tried to think about it a bit earlier. But what's my strength? You know, how can I translate my skills I learn in football into business side, and to for the people outside to understand I'm not just the former player, but I've got this, I've got that, I've got
Hmm.
business acumen. I can manage people. But that's also something you have to realize. Being in a football environment or in a club environment for a long period of time, it gives you skills and tools that you can translate to the business world, which I think, and I really believe that are very good skills and tools to get some good positions. We've got teamwork, we've got the understanding of different culture, we've got the discipline, we've got how to work under pressure. You think quick, because on the pitch you have to make decision, very quick decision. So you have to assess which decision is the best when the ball is coming. Is the same, but it's a bit slower in the business environment. You get judged every week in football. In the business environment, everything is a bit more calm. So if we give the possibility to some former player to get access to some good position, I think they will do well. But it's just us to have the bridge between the two, between football and businesses. If we can build this bridge, then we'll have like bigger chance for the former player to get access to better job. And also now it's getting easier as a former player to get access to football club, but coaching, scouting, those position, it's getting a bit trendy now to have a player in a higher position, but it's not that easy because it's always most of the time the same people around. And so clubs are doing well now, giving more chances to a former player, but we still have to fight for it, especially for for foreigners. To be honest with you, uh, I'm foreigners, I'm mixed race. To get access to those positions, if you check the landscape, there's not a lot
Yeah.
in my position. So it's there is a constant battle, challenges, but in this club, to be honest, I've been very well welcomed. They know me, I know the club, I know the people, I know the environment. So it's just I'm very grateful to be there and happy in this world. Yeah.
Before we get into Blackburn specifically, I want to dive into, you mentioned that idea of players now getting more opportunities in clubs. What is the difference between, a lot of the times we see players get positions as managers, as back end staff, sort of front office staff, but they still don't necessarily make that jump. They almost still come it with them being a football player. They sort of come with that mentality rather than the mentality of being a manager and more on the management side. So, what are the differences between players that end up doing very well in sort of the business and front office side, and players that end up, it's just not clicking, something's not working right yet? And so, I'm curious your opinion on that, and sort of the difference between the two.
I think the first one is the mindset. So if you tell yourself that you're just a former player or football player, you're gonna end up staying like this or in your cage in your head. If you understand that you can translate your skills and tools to something else, and you work at it and you try to speak to different people to understand it, then there is no limit. You can do anything you want. You're a former player or any type of person. If you don't put any limit in your mind, you can do anything you want. You have to learn. You have to put yourself outside. You have to be willing to work hard because you're probably some gap that you have being in the football for a long period of time. There is you have to learn different skills. If you're willing to do the job and put it yourself out of your comfort zone, there is a chance you will succeed. But the first limit is in your mind. Stop telling yourself you're just a football player. Stop. You know what? I, I know too many people. They just said, when they present themselves, I'm Rudy. I'm this. I used to play football, but that's it. So they stay on this like role and all the time. Is it because they miss the popularity or the people around them? Maybe. Or it's just because they don't want to leave this environment? Maybe also. But there is a lot to do outside the football, which is exciting. You're gonna learn a lot. You're gonna find different part of yourself that you would like. So I would suggest to any players to take a break, try something else outside football. Maybe you will learn something that you like.
And I think it's almost about humbling yourself back to, okay, just because I was an elite level football player doesn't mean I'm going to be an elite level manager, or someone in the business world. So I think if you humble yourself and sort of realize, look, these are the steps I need to take to get back to an elite level of management, then you can slowly start to work on that. I think if you yourself went from retiring to all of a sudden being the CEO of the City Group, it would be too difficult for you to adapt because you're not used to that elite level of management. But now with Blackburn, you're in a situation that you're comfortable with. You understand the people, like you were saying. It's a good environment for you to now grow slowly into the role. Then once you've grown there, then you can potentially go on to do bigger and better things. But I think that's sort of the moment where I think your selection of that first position was so crucial because you made it in terms of an environment that will help you grow as a person, and you can also help the club as well. And I think that balance is important.
Yes, it is. It is important, and also we don't have too many opportunities. So
Mm.
when you've got one, if my only opportunities was to be CEO of the City Group, I would have taken this and worked very hard to make sure I'm at the level. My first opportunity now was is at Blackburn, and I still make sure I work hard to get to the level because, as you said, there is skills that I don't have. There is part of the business that I didn't know. So I need to get up to speed and make sure that now when I speak to the people, I know what I'm talking about. Uh, you need to have the right people around you to be able to help you in this journey. There is few criteria or parameters that need to be in place to be aligned to make sure that you can succeed. At the club, we try to do it. We've got some good people, uh, good human being, but also good people with expertise. And for me, it's just a learning environment every day. Every day I'm learning from the CEO, the CEO, the head of commercial, the head coach, our technical development guys next to me who's got plenty of experience in football. So it is a learning environment. And if you stop to learn, you stop to progress, you stop to develop yourself, and that's where it becomes critical for you. So even when you're 60, 70, 80 years old, there's always something to learn. That's how that's what I feel, that's what I think. So I know I will keep learning every day to make sure I'm up to speed, because with the everything is changing around us. AI is coming, machine learning, it's coming in football very heavy. So how can we use those tools to get better as a club, as a person? How can we align our strategy around this? There's a lot to do every day.
Blackburn did a brilliant series on you. They sort of interviewed you before the transfer window, sort of just as you were assigned to the role, then during the transfer window, and now into the season, which really gave at least me some good insights in terms of how your thought processes work, what you're thinking, and what your role looks like. So, if we can get a sort of summary of what is your role, what are your current objectives, and what is your main focus at the club?
So my role is a bit large. So I'm a head of football operation. So I deal on a daily basis with the operation at the training ground. I've got I oversee also the academy, but we've got the head of the academy who is in charge on the operation. And I'm also in charge, responsible for the recruitment. Uh, so I oversee the recruitment department. So we have under my remit, I've got the head of administration, football administration, head of administration. We've got the head of kids, catering, and the recruitment. So it's every day is there's challenges. Every day is different. But as I said, that's how I like. You get the buzz, exciting. You're coming at work, and every day you've got something new. So it's no, it's great. I'm enjoying the role. You've got the recruitment side of it, which is exciting because you try to support as much as you can the club, the head coach, and to make the team better, um, and also giving the chance for the academy players to get access to the first team. So it's a bigger picture to have. You have the short term result, but also medium and long term. No, it's great. It's a fantastic role, and I'm really enjoying this.
There's you mentioned it earlier and you mentioned it again there, the sort of short term effects from the fan side, where a club loses one week and the fans will be very upset with the club, they won't be happy with the result and so on, and then they win the next week and it's kind of this roller coaster back and forth, back and forth. What is one thing you wish fans knew about your role that they might not necessarily see from just like the outsider's point of view?
There's some, obviously, we as a club, there's the resources that we don't have to compete with some club on the paper. Then if you manage to create the nice environment with the good players, not the best player all the time, but the right players for your club, with the right people around them to support them, then you can obviously get results. The fans sometimes they just want us to spend money on players because we sold the players, but they have to understand that the money that when we sell a player, we don't receive the money in one payment, and you've got some cost at the club. So there's a bigger picture to have. It's a business itself. A football club is a business, so you have to run it as a business. It's not just like spreading money outside to get players and expecting to get result. You have to go step by step. A club like Blackburn, if we want to get back to the top, which is the goal, the end goal, we need to build this up. We need to have a consistency. We need to have the right balance between spending money to get instant result, but also planning for the next few years. So all of those information, but we don't expect as a club the fans to understand that. They've got the emotions. You want to give them emotions when they come to the stadium. So we want them to enjoy being with in the stadium, watching the team and the performances and winning games. But they sometimes we would like to communicate to them that we are all on in together. When we lose, maybe we've got more sadness and more affected than you. So don't think that because we are comfortable, you think we are comfortable at the club, that we don't want the team to win. Or it's the relation with the fans sometimes is a bit difficult because we all have an opinion on football, but we know what's behind the door. We know the players sometimes when they've got the critic, they are very critical with players. Uh, we know what's behind the door, but we don't expect them to understand that on the pitch. They come for a show, so we need to give them a show. So yeah, that's it is a it is always a difficult relation, fan and club. We try to be as open as we can. We try to make sure we give them the show that they want. We try to give them the support that they want, but we need them also to support the team in a good moment and in the bad moment. That's a real fun.
And from your side, in terms of the operational side of the business, in terms of Blackburn itself, where are you looking for inspiration or a further education? You mentioned how you want to be constantly learning. So who are you looking up towards to say, hey, this club's doing a good job, or even this person is really interesting their approach to football and the business side as well. I'd be curious to hear where you're looking for inspiration.
So I try to reach out to people in a bigger club, bigger organization to see how they run the clubs, how they operate on a daily basis. Um, and so I've been lucky to be able to speak to a few different people, and it just show that we're on the right path. We're doing well as a club. Uh, the idea, sometimes you've got some ideas and you say, like, is it a crazy idea, or maybe we can implement it the right way? And you speak to people around. So yeah, I've got few people I can reach in the business or coaches or in different clubs because they've been through what I'm going now. So as they give me good advice, you need to have few people around you like this that are in a better position, and I'm grateful for them to be able to give me the right information for me to improve and to build something good at the club. Yeah.
I was just discussing last week with some NWSL executives, so the women's league in North America, and then obviously we have conversations with the MLS side as well. And the US is very much in a stage where they're wanting to grow as a league rather than club by club. So a lot of the collaboration within the league is quite open. There's clubs willing to help each other out in order to grow as a whole. On the English side and the European side as a whole, obviously you have factors like promotion and relegation. You have the longevity where the league has been there for a while, so it's already there. It's substantial in terms of its size. Is there still that openness in terms of if you're looking to speak to another club within the championship, let's say, or even a Premier League club and so on? Are people willing to sort of share their insights and their secrets, or is it something that's more held back and they don't really want to help you out in that way?
To an extent, it's okay. Obviously, they will not give you the secret weapons, but to an extent, it's fine because we understand each other. Maybe one day they will go through difficulties and it will come to me. So we have to be helpful to every. We have to help people around you as much as you can. But then when it's like too secret information, obviously you keep it for yourself. And because, as you said, we're not uh, controlled by the league, there's promotion, there's a relegation, so there's a fight to win still. We cannot give access to everything.
And then from the player side, we sort of mentioned originally from the player side, sort of the links or what made you want to get into football management and sports management as a whole. But now being in that position, so now you're on the other side of that. Looking back at your playing career, what are the insights that you now look back at to help you sort of learn and grow? I'm sure there's experiences you had. We sort of mentioned it, but from the management side now, how are you looking at your playing career and going, I should do this differently, or I should do this differently, and so on?
Yes, you mean when I should have done things differently when I was playing, or now how can I use my experience with the players currently at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
club?
both in a way. So one as what you
Ah,
could have done
okay.
differently as a player, and now what you can do differently on the management side.
So as a player, obviously, there's a lot of things I could have done differently, especially at the young age when I should have been maybe more focused and cut relationship with some people, I would say, who had an impact on my life, on my probably from a critical age from 17 to 22, 23 years old. but it's not that easy at this age because you need to have the right environment around you or people to advise you the right way. Sometimes I was following the wrong people
Mm.
or the wrong advice, even if those guys were playing football with me or close friends or family. I should have tried to just be focused on myself and focus on my goal. So that's the number one. Uh, then I would say that when I was at Villa, I left the club after 1.5 years to go back to the Prem for Middlesbrough. But I think I should have stayed and fight more to get back to a position when I was playing games because I think I had the quality. When we went down in Championship, then the club went up again. That's probably a time of my career that I regret I left that early because it was a great club with good people and we had a fantastic. I think we had a fantastic environment to. You can see where they are now. You know, they
Mhm.
rebuilt everything. So would have liked to be part of it to an extent because then after that I wasn't at the level that they are today. To be honest with you, especially at this time. Yeah, we didn't have the information that they have now in terms of data and diet and all of this. So I wish I had the data information more. I wish I had the video more because when I was playing for Blackburn, for example, I was getting a CD after every game to watch my
Wow.
game. Now it's instant, like you've got this on your phone straight away. You can watch in the couch when you go back. So it was a different time. I look old when I said that, but in 10 years' time, everything has changed. And
Yeah.
it's crazy where we're going. But for the players, there is no excuses now in terms of lifestyle, diet, food, preparation, development. You've got all the information that you need, and you will get even more information going forward. So, yeah. Then, as I said, what can you change? It's always easy when you look back, but when I was into the business, the one key thing I would say is enjoying the moment. That's a good one
Mm.
because you already think about next game, next game, next game, and you don't enjoy when things are going well. And obviously, when it's not going well, you just complain and you're not feeling good. So I would have tried to enjoy more the moment than that's what I did. Yeah,
You
and
mentioned
now,
now. Oh, sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and now I would say, which is good, is I can use my experience to talk to the players because most of the time you've been through it, difficulties, good moments, injuries, family situation, friends situation. So I can try to advise to an extent, even if when you when you're part of the seniorship position and you speak to the players, they still now see you as a senior position at the club, so they will not be fully open, obviously,
Yeah.
but because of this relationship as a former players and now other players, it's easier for me to discuss with them. So I try to use everything I know, everything I build, and my knowledge and experience to share it with the youngest and share it with the people around me.
You mentioned the data and sort of the video and all these different things that are being brought into play now where the line is so thin between players that are at that extreme level and just elite level players. There's such a thin margin between the two. So I'm curious from your end when you're looking at the development of players throughout the academy heading into the professional side, because so many players are at such an elite level now, what brings a player to that just that next step? What is the difference? Because at this point really the players are all fairly the same speed, their diets are all very similar, they're on the same training regimen. So what are those difference makers that truly making a player that next level and get into that elite step?
So if we take someone with the same physical abilities, let's say we take a winger, all of them are fast, all of them got good balance. There's few then different things. It's the technical abilities, obviously. There's the mindset, which is very important. What does he have in his mind compared to the other one? Is he willing to sacrifice himself for the team? Is he willing to give the extra work for the team? Is he willing to fight even when he's not in his position or even when the things are going bad or it's difficult? So that's a key metric that you cannot probably on data you cannot see, but when you watch the play on video or watch live, then you can recognize his work ethic and the way he communicates with the players. So how can you also adapt to a team environment? And then that's what they do outside of football. How do they live? How do they behave? How do they rest? How do they drink? How do they eat? You got access to everything nowadays, but you can trust me. There is only few players who live at their best and try to be the best version of themselves. There is only few players, and those players, when they've got the physical abilities, when they've got the technical abilities, as they've got the right mindset, then they get to the top. Are they going to high perform to try to have high performance during the full carry? That's difficult. Some are doing one or good 2 seasons, but the rest, can they sustain to this level? That's high performance. Can you sustain every day the discipline, play it at your best for 10, 15 years? That's the top. That's LeBron James, that's Cristiano Ronaldo, that's Messi, that's the top of the top.
And when we look at your career, you were promoted to the Premier League. I believe it was twice, right? If I have that stat right,
No, once I think.
just once.
Promoted.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you've had that experience going from the champion. Obviously, you bounce between the Premier League and Championship quite a few times in terms of clubs themselves. But you have that experience going from the Championship level to the Premier League level. In terms of now building out a squad that needs to do that and has the goal in mind to do that, how are you implementing your decision making in terms of your role at the club to allow that to happen? Because I think it's a difficult process to not only build a successful championship team, but also a team that can then transition into a Premier League team.
Yes, it is difficult because we are fighting against team with a different budget than us. So we cannot sign the top players and give him the top wages. So we need at the moment to build a team who's going to be able to fight with the top team in championship. And when you get there, you will have to recruit smart because you will have to build a team. You will have to create a team, not just taking individual players. Because to sustain in the Premier League, when you start to get there, you maybe don't have the best quality players, but if you manage to build a team with a bit more quality than you can go and buy somewhere, then you've got chance to sustain for 1 season, 2 season. Once you're there for 2 seasons, you've got the finance to build something different. So those first 2 seasons, that's why most of the time you see a team going up and going down, because this point is very critical.
Mm.
So obviously, there is a discussion around the squad that we have, who is going to fit, who's got the quality and the mentality to fit to play for the top. Who can we get on loan from the top team to be able to add some strength to our team? Who can we buy? Who can we develop? So there's few situation like this, especially as a club. You cannot just put your eggs in one
Mm.
basket. You need to plan for the next 2, 4, 5 years. So we try to have a plan for the next, I would say, 4 years, where we're gonna have a chance to fight with the best team. I think we are in the good place at the moment. We are in the position that we think we can be. And then if you manage to create the right environment, there is no limit because then you can compete to anyone. The quality of the player in championship, the difference between the lower championship and the top championship, sometimes is not that big. It's the environment that you create that's going to make the difference. But then the championship to the Premier League, the gap is massive. So as I said, build a team, build a team. Don't try to bring the best player. Build a team, and with this team, you can reach the sky. Sky is the limit, as we said.
I love it. That sort of team environment that you're mentioning. Was there a team that you were a part of that did that really well, or is there a team that you know of that you've just watched and seen that just did a really good job of building that team environment?
Yes, I can only speak with the team I've been in because it's hard to see that from
Yeah.
outside. You can see like some team like Ipswich Luton last season, 2 seasons ago, maybe not the best player, but they had the team bonding. We had this at Cardiff when we went up. Not We had good players. Don't get me wrong, we had good players, but the environment and the players. That's why we went up. So you need also the right head coach to build this, because at the end of the day, we give him the tools to make it work, but that's up to him to create this environment. And if you've got the right head coach able to create, good people management and you know how to navigate between players, but then you know how to build a team and with the right spirit. It's easier, and we think at the club that we have John Eustace to do that. That is able to create a team, and he is very big on this. When we talk about recruitment players and is how are they going to fit the team that we have, because there's a balance to keep. So as a club, we know that's something we have to build. So yeah, I've been through Cardiff when we had team spirit, teams building. When I went to Villa, I'd say we have good individual players, but we didn't find our balance or the bonding between the players sometimes. Maybe because of the changing of manager too many often. So you had happy players, unhappy players, but nobody able to make them stick together. We had no fight between each other. I liked everyone around me, but it's just like when it's being difficult, sometimes you're missing the edge, the next 10, 15%. Yeah, I would say yeah, that's why the two different between Cardiff and Villa. And when I was at Blackburn, we had a great group of people. Um, we missed the playoff by a short number of points. Probably, you know what? Probably because we didn't think that we were able to get to the playoff. So
Mm.
same again, it was a mindset. When we say, "Oh, yeah, we're happy with the seventh position, we're doing well, guys." But if we'd have at one point said, "Guys, I think we can go up," the things would have been different.
If we look at, I know you're just starting out your role with Blackburn still, you're in the early stages, but if we zoom forward to the end of your time at Blackburn, let's say if there is an end at some point, and you look back at your time with Blackburn now on the management side, what does a successful stint look like for you? What are your, like, is there a specific KPI or something you're looking at where you're like, if we do blank, this is a successful time that I've spent at Blackburn?
If we go up, I will be. It will be a success for us. Like when you play, as I said, you want to play to the highest level. So I think we missed the belief when I was playing there. So it's also up to us to bring the people with the right mindset. If you can bring people who's been there, they know what it is, what do you need to get there to the top level, it will help the rest of the group. So you need leaders in your squad. Maybe we were lack of leadership when I was there, only a few of us. But if you've got four, five, six people who can have a big influence on the group, then you're in a good position. So we need leadership. We need quality, because at the end of the day, we play football. If you don't have talent or creativity or quality in the team, you will not get there. And you need to be able to work hard as a team and togetherness. If you've got those three metrics, as you call it,
Mhm.
to be general, and we not go deep into the metrics. So then
Yeah.
you can, as a club, when we check the performances of the team, we go deeper into it in terms of chances, creative, defensive, midfielder, how many times we pass the ball forward. But there's a lot of data you can work around. So I will not be specific on this one, but just to be general, yeah, you need leadership, you need togetherness, and you need quality. If you've got those three metrics, then you are in a good place.
We spoke about a lot of the highs in your career and a lot of the lows in your career. I want to stick on more of the lows. What is one low that you can look back on now and you learn and develop from that low? You can look back at it now and go, okay, I can learn this. I understand this now. What is something that you've grown from in terms of that side of things?
So overall on my career, I think I had more lows than ups.
Mm.
I had 13 surgeries. I missed almost 6 years of my career being injured. So yeah, I know what is it. I know people think football is nice and everything is gold and everything is great, but I know how you feel when you are at the bottom, and I know what it takes to go up again. So I would say my low points in my career, just I learned resilience. It's key. Anything you do, if you're not willing to fight when it's hard, you will never succeed. So resilience is key. Consistency. You have to keep moving forward, keep getting back, keep learning, keep improving yourself, and then you will have the opportunity, the chance is going to come at you. So yeah, I would say resilience and consistency in what you do.
We've got two quick fire questions here, then we'll wrap things up. The first one, what is one vital part of your daily routine?
Putting my kids at bed.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would say even if I come late and they're already at bed, I go in each room and kiss them and make sure before I go to my bed, I do it, and then yeah, and then I spend some time with my wife. Yeah, I'd say that's the time where I relax a bit, and I try to go back to her.
Yeah, we speak to a lot of fathers on this show, and they mention something very similar. So I'm
Yeah,
glad you're
yeah.
on the same path there. And
Mhm.
the second one here, if you could sit down with one person, past or present, who would it be and why for a meal, let's say?
Oh, there's few. 1%, it's hard. Past year, I would like to speak to Muhammad Ali. I think he's as a person and as a he had the good and bad, but
Mm,
overall he was able to stand up for himself when the things matter. He had a big belief in himself even before he was world champion. So it just show like with the belief you can move mountains. And so he had both. He has the sports side and also the civil side when he did a lot for the community, for the people around him, even when we try to put him down. So he is one of the person. But as I said, there is a lot I would like to speak to and see how it feels and also as a Muslim myself, if I could have spent some times around the tea with our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I would have been like very grateful. It would have been probably the most amazing time for me.
that's two very good options there. Rudy, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the podcast. If you have any last words, then we can wrap things up.
Thank you, Chad. Amazing time with you. I think people should spend more time on your podcast and share around them because you not the one we're doing together, but I think you have valuable information on this. So keep doing the good job, and I'm sure you will be recognized for what you're doing.
Appreciate it. Thanks again for coming on, and we'll speak again soon. Okay.
Speak to you soon.